Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is the ASX and Sectors weekly chart analysis for the week ending 24th of February 2023. The first chart's in front of us. It's the S&P ASX 200 index, the XJO. And if we start down here, this is effectively a double bottom down here, the middle of the year last year. The price accelerated higher. There was a period of consolidation. The price then accelerated higher again. Price moved up, tested for supply for a week, and then pushed up here. Now, this was the highs to the left at the time. You can see price really did challenge that level on high volume, but the close off the highs suggested supply had been drawn out, and in response, price pulled back into Christmas, which was here. This became an effective support level at 7,000. There was a test for supply below that level, even a little shakeout, you might say, before price accelerated higher, past the previous highs. And here's the breakout zone above that. And this really is the highs of the range. A breakout above this level would be really significant. It would put the index at new all-time highs effectively, apart from a little bit of fluff to the left. And price pushed up and did actually challenge this level, similar to what happened here, but spread wasn't particularly wide considering the volume that was drawn out that week. It was well above average, and that suggested that supply had been drawn out, and since then prices pulled back. This is the third week of the pullback, but you'll notice that this week spread has narrowed considerably. Volume was above average, and the close was in the middle. This was buying support being drawn out. Now, the response to buying support would generally be a push higher or a test for supply and then a push higher. There's no guarantee of success at this point in time, but there has been buying support drawn out in this market. And if those positions are held, I would expect an attempt to push higher and possibly a challenge to this level, which is effectively the breakout zone on the whole entire chart. If for any reason the market is forced to sell off at this point, you'll probably see what buying took place in this bar dumped. You'll see a widespread down bar in response, and you'll see price probably come back and test the strength of this 7,000 level. So we're at an important juncture on the chart. There has been buying support drawn out this week, and we'll just have to wait and see what the response is. And I also note that this week really wasn't a particularly favourable week for trading conditions, and the narrow spread bar on increased volume suggests that there was quite considerable resilience in the market being shown. This is likely quite an important little juncture we've reached in the market, and we'll have to wait and see what the response is next week and possibly even the week after. But I expect there'll be a push higher in response, or at least an attempt to. Next chart is the mid caps, and if we start in the same position, this is where there was a double bottom effectively on the XJO, and this market was way too strong at the time to come down and test this level. So this was all the pullback had in it. Here was the breakout we first looked at with the XJO after a couple of weeks of consolidation. The XJO really accelerated higher again here after only 1 week of consolidation. It was effectively 2 weeks here and then only a minor push higher. And here was the level adjacent to that where supply was drawn out and price pulled back in response. And here was the Christmas week, similar to the XJO on very low volumes, before price accelerated higher again. Now the XJO did push up to this level, and through it, this is the effective breakout level overall. This market really only came up and tagged it. There was increase in volume, and since then, prices pulled back. But similar to the XJO, or the parent index, buying support appears to be found this week. Price dipped lower but it's come back to close in the top half of the bar on slightly above average volume. The long tail suggests that buying support was drawn out, and you would expect price to push higher in response or test for supply. And the test for supply should be on lower volume, preferably below average volume. And once again, same with the XJO. If the market is unable to push higher and is forced to sell off for whatever reason, whatever buying occurred in this bar will probably be dumped and price will pull back to this level here, I imagine. And that's where the market would test for supply, test the strength of this turnaround, which is 8,850 on this index. But I expect price will make an attempt to push higher either next week or the week after if there's a test for supply next week. What you might get is an early test for supply, and then if there's no selling pressure in the market and trading conditions become more favourable, and a push higher later in the week. The small ordinaries. Now this chart is way more compressed. Here's where you had the double bottom with the XJO parent index, and this market actually dipped slightly below it. Here was the initial breakout after a couple of weeks consolidation. Now you can see how this market didn't even reach the previous highs. The XJO, for instance, and the mid caps are up around this level. The XJO pushed just above it, and the mid caps pushed just to it. Now, this level here, the initial breakout line, was tested for strength here, and it may be a measure we can use in the future here. If this market doesn't test this level, we may be able to determine that that was actual underlying strength in this market. Buying support has been drawn out in this market, similar to the mid caps and the parent index, and you would expect a push higher in response. There may be an initial test for supply, something like this, but you would expect a push higher in response. If price is unable to push higher in response, then the market will likely come back and test this level for strength. This is a more important level on the chart than the previous two charts, which were a little higher in the range. Next chart is the ASX financial sector. You can see that buying support has likely come in on this market, similar to the previous ones, after a serious push lower last week on an increase in volume. Spread has narrowed considerably this week and was quite high overall. Spread narrowed and price closed above mid-bar just slightly. This market is up near the highs of its range, similar to the XJO and the mid-caps, and has moved past its previous high each time, whereas the previous chart, the small ordinaries, was unable to do so. Now I would expect this market also to push higher in response. Once again, there may be a test for supply early in the week to see if selling pressure is present, especially considering that volume was actually well above average this week. So a test for supply early is quite likely. Now, if supply continues to be drawn out, the level below is through here. So not far below to test that if required. But if supply is not found to be strong, then this market will be ready to move higher. And it'll also depend on whether trading conditions overall are relatively favourable. They haven't really been favourable all this week. So look for this market to test for supply early next week. And then depending on how much supply is drawn out, a push higher in response, or the market will continue to test for the rest of the week. Next chart is the ASX metals and mining subsector. This market has good buying support and accumulation in the background, which has given it strength for this push higher. You can see where price gapped out, showing you intent here. There was a little period of consolidation across here before price pushed higher again. price pulled back and tested deeply into this level, probably because this was Christmas week here and volumes were very low, and then prices accelerated higher again. Now the highs of the range to the left come through here, and prices pulled back, mostly in line with commodity prices in general. Price accelerated lower this week. You've got this level here coming through adjacent to the 6,000, and that may be where price tests and attempts to find support. We'll just have to wait and see. There's also some chance of a reversal next week, with a close right down by its lows this week can also be a little suspicious. So don't be surprised if that happens, if the right opportunity arises in overseas trading. Barring that, we're looking for an attempt to consolidate, probably around this level here. This is a breakout line in the past, which I expect will offer some support around the 6,000 on this chart. ASX gold sector, similar to the metals and mining subsector, has buying support in the background, some form of accumulation, which has given strength for the overall push higher. Here was the gap out showing you intent, and price consolidated for 1 week, broke out again, tested the breakout, and then accelerated higher again. Now you've got some interesting levels to the left here, which the market has had to contend with. There's another one above that. And price stalled out at this level. It hasn't really challenged this level at all so far. And it's come back and it's testing right at this breakout line in the past. I'm expecting there'll be some chance of the market finding some support at this level. I expect that the market has a reduced spread this week, but well above average volume. So you may see some buying support has come in there just quietly this week, which would give it some chance of a reversal in response. So just be aware of that. It's not guaranteed to happen, but you can see down here, volume has increased considerably, spread has reduced a little, and price is right at a previous level of support, which the market's used as support previously. So this is a level where there may be some support drawn out, and actually a break through this level would be significant, and price would likely come back to this level if that was the case. So this is a significant level, I imagine, and you may find support is drawn out at this level. The ASX energy sector has been a disappointment, really, but price is attempting to find support at these lows here, where the market has found support in the past. And you've got, similar to the larger indexes, what appears to be buying support coming out this week. Spread has narrowed, price pushed lower, but recovered to close in the top half of the bar on an increase in volume very slightly above average volume. So it appears that buying support has been drawn out this week, and generally you'll see an early test for supply under these circumstances, and then if supply is found to be low, an attempt to push higher. This may happen over 2 weeks, but more than likely on a weekly chart like this, you'll find the test for supply in the first day or so in the week, and then price will accelerate higher from there if supply is found to be low. Now, if for any reason price has to push lower, I imagine what buying support was drawn out will be sold from this level, and the lower level comes through here. So the buying support which emerged this week had to be dumped. I would be looking at price moving down to this level and attempting to find support there, where support has been drawn out in the past. ASX healthcare sector has also been a bit of a disappointment. It's attempted to break out a number of times previously, and it hasn't done so. It's in position to break out once again right now. So we'll just see how strong the market is. Price accelerated higher on this bar a month ago, and this is effectively the breakout level here. These two attempts to break out were on relatively lower volumes. Price has come back and has tested the breakout over the last 3 weeks for strength. You can see spreads are reducing. Last week there was an attempt to absorb the supply, and this week was effectively a test for supply. So there's a good chance price will attempt to push higher in response. There may be an early test for supply, like there often is on a Monday, like this. And then, if not much supply is drawn out, price will attempt to push out in response. Last chart is the ASX industrial sector. Here's the breakout line. And price is in position to make an attempt to break out, similar to how the healthcare sector is positioned right now. I'm just filling in these gaps so you can see what the chart looks like more clearly. Here's the breakout zone, and price has moved back through this zone twice, and both times recovered to close back at it on this bar and just above it on this bar. So this is effectively absorption bars, testing the market for supply here and then again here, and absorbing any supply that's drawn out. You can see the volume down here has increased the last 2 weeks. So you'll almost certainly see a test for supply early again, and this market does deep tests, so something like that. And then if supply is found to be low, then there's an opportunity for this market to push higher. Just back to the parent index finally, before we finish up. This market does look like buying support has come in this week. Here's the important breakout level. And I would expect, given any sort of favourable trading conditions next week, this market can push up to that level. Whether it's strong enough to challenge, I'm not sure, but I won't be surprised if this market makes an attempt at least to push higher. And if for whatever reason the buying support that emerged this week was forced to sell, this is the level here where I expect some support will emerge. Quite a way down really, will allow for a pretty serious sell down. But at this point in time, it does appear that buying support's been drawn out. You may get an early test for supply next week, pretty narrow spread like that. And if selling pressure is found to be low, I expect the market will attempt to push higher in response, especially if trading conditions are relatively favourable. Okay, that's my lot. Thanks for your time. See ya.